Okay, welcome everyone to the first edition of our After the Show. Today we are going to be talking about Dining on a Dime, the podcast available on all podcast platforms. Today we will be discussing episode 52. So I want you to go to your favorite podcast platform, and I want you to look for Dining on a Dime and download episode 52. And that is what we will be discussing today. Keep in mind that you can also go to wildfireradio.com and search for Dining on a Dime, or you can go to phillyrestaurantreviews.com and there's a link to our show. Look at the foliage. Can you guys look at the October foliage? My goodness. Every week we're going to come to you from a different location throughout the city, and we're going to give you an inside look at the most recent episode of our show. Let's get right to it. First of all, that day, just to give you behind the scenes, that day I took a bus and there was flooding, and I had to get dropped off in Woodbury, which is a town away from where the studio is. Bottom line is, there was a lot of chaos for me to get to the studio that day. Once I got to the studio, I did not have time to read the script for segment 3. So let's just recap. Segment 1, boom, right off the bat, we went to Tuck-Ins, which is an inside-out s'mores. I met the owner at a flea market, or at an event down in Dilworth Plaza. So they were doing an event in Dilworth Plaza. I saw it. I thought it was a really cool idea, and I invited the guys on the show. I also, a little inside news, I also invited a baker, an elderly woman who was a baker, and she wanted to come on our show and talk about why people buy cakes from supermarkets when they can easily make it at home. I thought it was a great idea, gave her the business card, told her to get a hold of me, and she blew me off. So we should have had a bakery on there. It's just that she completely blew me off. But anyway, Tuck-Ins was on the show. They did a great job. They're a bunch of young guys. They invented this thing with s'mores that has s'mores on a stick. They did an outstanding job on the show. You can find Tuck-Ins by going to www.tuck-ins.com, and it's a s'mores on a stick. It's inside out. You can toast them and everything else. It's awesome. Go to tuck-ins.com, check it out. Then, right away, like an explosion, boom! Our interview with Chris Myers, gourmetshows.com. His big event is this coming Friday and Saturday at the Valley Forge Casino. Chris is a great guest. We enjoy having him on the show. He is the organizer of the Taste Philadelphia event at the Valley Forge Casino. His big event is this Friday, and I'm going to tell you, because YouTube is totally different from the show, so YouTube is going to be more hardcore than our podcast. So I'm going to tell you the real deal. That is the best event I've ever went to. I was there last year, and we joked on the show, just so you know, we were kidding around, and he said I was drunk and full. That was just to sell tickets. I don't drink. Sometimes we'll embellish just to make it funny. But, you know, sometimes to promote and embellish, we say that I don't drink. I did not drink. Last year I did come home full because I ate a lot. The price of the ticket, what you need to do is go to gourmetshows.com, put in Philly Taste Fest 50, and you guys can get 50% off your ticket. I was there last year. The food is incredible. It's tons of food. And I'm going to be inside, since I told you YouTube is totally hardcore and podcast is a little softer. I'm going to tell you the truth. There was tons of booze. I've never seen so much booze in my entire life. The booze vendors were in full force at the event. So if you guys are boozers, I would suggest go to the event. We made a little joke during the show that I left tipsy. I do not drink. Sometimes we'll embellish our stories for the sake, of getting the point across. Okay, Chris Myers ended. What's funny is, if you guys are listening to the show, go to any podcast platform, search Dining on a Dime. It's episode 52. What I pointed out in my notes here is really funny. At the end of the interview, what I meant to say was, I'm going to pump up the promotion of your event throughout the show, and I said, I'm going to pump you throughout the show. And as funny as that sounds, John said, well, this is a family show. But I was trying to say we're going to pump it, pump the promotion throughout the show. And I misspoke. And I said we're going to pump you throughout the show. And that, to this day, I'm crying. I'm laughing so hard. We are filming this YouTube on a Tuesday. And just so you guys know, between Sunday and Monday, we achieved 80% of our total weekly number. So this particular episode is on fire. I suggest you go to your nearest podcast platform or Google. If you Google Dining on a Dime podcast, we actually come up first. So I know there's another show that brags about being number one listed. Every show on the station actually does come up first. So just Google Dining on a Dime podcast and you'll see our podcast will come up on the first page or first. Okay, then we go to segment 2, which is John Cole's segment. Behind the scenes for that segment, I got to be honest with you, I was actually trying to get my cell phone out of the video tripod. So I don't remember much about John's segment because I was trying to get my cell phone free from the tripod. Lucky for me, here's another behind-the-scenes scoop. I did not know that Wildfire had a tripod for filming, and I ended up buying a tripod. So I lugged it all the way over there only to find out that they had a tripod. Okay, then segment 3. Here is the behind-the-scenes look at segment 3. Here's what happened. I notified Philly Bite Magazine. I said, listen, I have bad eyes. I cannot see. And I cannot see from my cell phone screen. Can you please send me the email so I can print it out and read it from a paper? Well, they didn't send it to me till Sunday morning, and as I've told you guys in the past, it takes me 10 hours to get to the studio and get home on Sunday recording days. So I did not have time to, because I got dropped off in Woodbury by mistake, I did not have time to read the script beforehand, and B, I can't see to read from the cell phone screen. So I notified them yesterday again. I notified Philly Bite and Indie Philly if they could please just try to get those to me sooner so I can read it beforehand. So segment 3 was a total disaster. Indie Philly had told me they can't even edit it. It's actually funny because I can't see from my cell phone screen, so it makes it look like I can't read. Meanwhile, I'm a published author. So I just can't see from my cell phone screen. I pointed that out to them. Unfortunately, I didn't get the script till Sunday morning. Bus dropped me off in Woodbury, and it took me extra time to get to the studio, so I didn't even have time to read the script beforehand. So that's the inside scoop on segment 3. The My Philly Dish segment is popular. A lot of people give us feedback from that. Because he pretty much gives you the latest happenings in the food world in Philadelphia. Now, segment 4 was an interesting thing. We get our most feedback from the cooking tips, because I share this show all over. I just shared it to the Minnesota food page today, and a lot of people are interested in recipes. And I'm not a cooker. I don't even know how to make ramen. So I guess that some people dig cooking tips. This was a good one. They gave you, John and Jim gave you tips on how to cook eggs. And I had someone email me saying they thought that I was wasting their time by giving tips on how to cook eggs, because they said, who doesn't know how to cook eggs, until they listened to the segment. once they listened to the segment, they were like, oh, wow, now I understand. They didn't know anything about the salt tip that was given. They had no idea about the milk tips. So they thought we were crazy giving tips on eggs because anyone could cook eggs, but that ended up being false. So yeah, segment 4 was a big hit. The biggest feedback we've been getting in season 2 is that people enjoy hearing the foodie news that we give in segment 1 normally. And then we're getting a little bit of feedback, a lot of feedback about the cooking tips. Jim gave tips on how to cook a burger, and I had good feedback from that. So anyway, now we go into segment 4. If you guys notice, I try to calm down the promotions during the show, only because I have 4 commercials during the show that pretty much promote everything I have going on. So I'm trying to calm it down. I still get complaints that I constantly promote. Somebody called me Joey Suzu. I'm trying to calm down the self-promotion during the show because I have 4 commercials. Somebody pointed that out to me the other day. They're like, you do know you have 4 commercials throughout the show. I don't really need to know about anything about you because I can just hear the commercials. So I am trying my best to calm down on the plugs during the show. A lady called me Joey Suzu, which I found very funny. Remember Joey Suzu from the 1980s? I thought that was very funny. Once again, if you have not listened to our show and you're a new listener, please note that our show goes like this. Segment 1, general foodie news. Basically, we talk about everything. Our most popular topic that we talked about was actually the Weight Watchers app. Weight Watchers wants to give kids a food tracking system. That got a lot of pop. I was very surprised by that. A lot of people not bashing us, but they were bashing Weight Watchers. So that got a lot of pop. We also talked about, gin-infused gummy bears. We've given, food news like that. Segment 2 is usually John Cole. He'll talk about anything in the restaurant industry. This past Sunday, I liked his segment because he talked about, if you're only half-hearted into the restaurant business, maybe you should think about other things. Also, segment 3 gave information about the restaurant week in Hudson Valley, and we got a lot of nice feedback because I asked John and Jim, who are 2 guys who are in the restaurant industry, and not me, who is just an eater, what they thought about restaurant week, and it was interesting. Their response was very interesting because I said Abe Fisher was one of my best restaurant experiences, and I got to go there and experience it during restaurant week, and then the reply to them was like, well, did you go back? And I honestly haven't. And that is the purpose of restaurant week, is to get people in there and have them come back. My best restaurant week experience, I never returned. I figured I was there, I'm done, I don't need to come back. So that's our show. Our show is called Dining on a Dime. We record on all podcast platforms. We're syndicated on 2 radio stations. WMLD in Hudson Valley, New York, every Monday at 1 o'clock. And IndiePhilly.com every Friday. Our goal with the YouTube channel is to kind of be like an ECW channel. We're kind of going to go hardcore. This week, the thumbs up is for the whole show. That's why the show has been popular. But thumbs down is for the My Philly Dish segment. Once again, I was late. I got dropped off in the wrong town by the New Jersey Transit bus system. So I had to literally walk an extra couple miles to get to the studio, further to get to the studio. I can't even walk a mile, but I had to walk a couple more blocks extra to get to the studio. So I had no time to read the script. And then by the time the show started, I didn't realize the trouble I have reading from my cell phone screen because I have eyesight issues. So that segment was a total disaster. We're going to try to get that a little bit better. I'm going to try to record that prior to the show. But if New Jersey Transit didn't screw up and drop me off in the wrong town, I probably would have had time to kind of read it and get prepared. For full disclosure, I notified them that I have a hard time reading from my cell phone if they could send me the script on Friday, and I did not get the script till Sunday. So there was a lot of issues surrounding that segment this week. We're trying to correct those. I'm going to see if I can record that prior to the show, if we can, or or read it before I go on the air with it. So once again, segment 1 is always general foodie news. Segment 2 is John Cole. He's for the guys watching this outside of the Philadelphia area. He's a restaurant consultant in New Jersey and Philly, expert at food trucks. Jim Hassan is a very well-seasoned chef. He has worked at dozens of places. Currently works at the Bourse Building. If you guys are coming to Philadelphia, Bourse Building is a beautiful place. He is the chef at Grub House inside the Bourse Building. I'm trying to keep these YouTube videos only to 15 minutes because of the amount of time it takes to upload. So go to PhillyRestaurantReviews.com, and I want you all to take the audio food tour, and that'll take you through the best restaurants in Philly and New Jersey. And we give you the real deal. Now let me give you, and I'm going to do this quick because I only want a 15-minute video. We give you the real restaurant deals. If you were to take a food tour of Philadelphia, they're going to take you to spots that probably handed them a couple dollars to promote them. We give you the actual real deal. We all are hardcore food people. Nobody has any association with our show. There's no restaurant that is affiliated to our show whatsoever. We are a neutral party when it comes to giving restaurant recommendations. So that's it. And if you're wondering where I'm filming this outstanding October foliage, I am at the Piazza in Northern Liberty section of Philadelphia. This used to be Schmidt's Brewery, and here's the sign for Schmidt's Brewery, still there. And I don't know if you guys remember, but Schmidt's was a big deal back in the old days. So once again, the highlights of the show were the interviews with Tuck-ins and the Philadelphia Food and Wine Festival this coming Friday and Saturday, November 1st and 2nd. I want you all to run to gourmetshows.com. If you put in Philly Taste Fest 50, you're going to get 50% off your tickets. All right, I don't want to be bloviating. I only want 15 to 20-minute videos. We're almost at the 20-minute mark. So every time we record a show, you can expect between Sunday and Tuesday to see an after the show. I'm going to tell you the real deal. YouTube is going to be handled like an ECW, hardcore. I'm not going to be as fluffy as we are on the podcast. So if you guys want to hear the real deal after every show, go to our YouTube station, Food and Beverage Information Station. We come up first in the search results. Subscribe to the page down below, and you will get to see the real hardcore insights into our last show. I'm going to try to upload this by the end of Tuesday. So, all right, everyone, join us again every time you hear the Dining on a Dime podcast, available on all podcast platforms. WildfireRadio.com, just search for it. It's always there. And we'll be giving you the real deal about episode 52 today, and then in the future we'll talk about other episodes. Thank you for joining us, and remember, Food and Beverage Information Station. Subscribe below.